The night sky above the New Mexico desert was clear and filled with stars. Inside the Horizon Deep Space Monitoring Station, Bill Taylor leaned back in his chair and sipped his lukewarm coffee. The overnight shift was usually quiet, just how he liked it. A soft beep from his computer broke the silence. Bill set down his mug and leaned forward. The screen showed an unusual reading from one of the long-range scanners pointed beyond Pluto. "That's odd," he mumbled, typing commands to check the data again. The beep repeated. The same strange energy pattern appeared on his screen. Bill called over to his coworker. "Hey Mark, can you check this reading? I'm picking up something weird past Pluto's orbit." Mark rolled his chair over and squinted at the screen. "Probably just a glitch. Run the backup systems." Bill did as suggested, but the backup systems showed the same thing. "Still there, and look, it's moving." Mark sat up, straighter now. "Moving? How fast?" After some quick calculations, Bill's face paled. "Too fast. Way too fast for any natural object." "Call Dr. Wilson," Mark said. "Now." 3 hours later, Dr. Helen Wilson stood before a room full of government officials and military personnel. The room was tense as she showed them the data from the Horizon Station. "These objects are artificial in nature," she explained, pointing to the images on the large screen. "They're moving at speeds our current technology can't match, and they're headed directly toward our solar system." A man in a crisp military uniform stood up. "Hostile intent?" "Unknown, Major Walker," Dr. Wilson replied. "But they're not responding to any of our attempts at communication." Tom Walker, head of Earth's newly formed Unified Defense Force, nodded grimly. "How long until they reach Earth?" "At their current speed?" "About 3 weeks." The room erupted in worried voices. Walker raised his hand for silence. "Dr. Wilson, what's your professional opinion? Are we looking at a first contact situation or something else?" Wilson hesitated. "The formation they're traveling in suggests organization and purpose. I'd say this isn't random exploration." Just then, an aide rushed into the room and handed a tablet to Dr. Wilson. Her face grew serious as she read. "We just received a transmission," she announced. "It appears to be from the approaching fleet." She pressed a button and a harsh mechanical voice filled the room. "Attention, inhabitants of the third planet. Your resources are now property of the Stellar Dominion. Resistance is futile. Prepare for our arrival and your submission." A heavy silence fell over the room. Major Walker was the first to speak. "Well, I guess that answers the hostile intent question." The news spread across the world like wildfire. Panic followed. People flooded stores for supplies. Some fled cities, for the countryside. Others held prayer meetings or end-of-the-world parties. In Washington, President Adams addressed the United Nations via video call. "The threat we face is not to any one nation but to all of humanity," he said, his voice steady despite the fear in his eyes. "This is the moment to put aside our differences and stand together." For once, the world listened. Within 48 hours, the Earth Defense Initiative was formed, bringing together the best military minds and scientists from around the globe. Major Tom Walker stared at the space map spread across the table in the Pentagon's underground command center. Representatives from Russia, China, the European Union, and a dozen other nations stood with him. "They'll come through here," Walker said, pointing to an area between Mars and Jupiter. "We need to be ready." "Ready how?" asked the Russian general. "Your own scientists say their technology is far beyond ours." "Maybe so," Walker admitted. "But they don't know our solar system like we do, and they've never faced humans before." A Chinese military official shook her head. "Our most powerful weapons can barely reach Mars, let alone stop a fleet beyond it. Then we don't fight them head-on," Walker replied. "We fight smarter, not harder." At NASA's Jet Propulsion Laboratory, Dr. Anna Miller worked without sleep. Her team had been analyzing the alien transmission for days. "Look at these patterns," she told her colleague, Dr. Pete Brown. "Their communication technology uses a specific radiation frequency to transmit data." "So?" Pete asked. "So that might tell us something about their biology or their technology," Anna explained. "All life evolves to function within its environment. If they use these frequencies, they might be particularly sensitive to them. Pete understood immediately. Or sensitive to frequencies they don't use, like how we developed to handle visible light but not X-rays. Anna nodded excitedly. Exactly. And look at this. When our deep space probes sent out signals on certain bands, we got fluctuations in their ship formations. They reacted? Or their systems did, Anna said. I think we might have found a weakness. On the moon's far side, a small team worked quickly to establish a forward base. Jack Stone, a veteran astronaut, directed the setup of special equipment sent up from Earth. Careful with those panels, he called to his team. If Dr. Miller is right, these might be our best defense. Through his helmet visor, Jack looked up at the stars. Somewhere out there, the alien fleet was coming closer. Earth looked small and fragile from here. His radio crackled. Stone, this is Walker. How's progress? On schedule, sir. The array will be operational in 12 hours. Good. Our satellites are in position near Mars orbit. The plan is coming together. Jack hoped it would be enough. Commander Vex stood on the bridge of the Dominion flagship, watching the primitive solar system grow larger on the main view screen. This conquest would be simple like the dozens before it. Status report, Vex ordered. His second-in-command responded promptly. The third planet continues to broadcast chaotic communications, Commander. They appear disorganized and frightened. As they should be, Vex said with satisfaction. Any signs of unified defense? None worth noting. They've launched some simple satellites, but nothing that poses a threat to our shields. Vex made a sound of contempt. This species hasn't even colonized its neighboring planets. They'll make good labor for the mines. We've detected unusual radiation patterns from their star, the science officer noted. Irrelevant, Vex dismissed. Adjust shields as needed. We'll be past their fourth planet soon enough. Back on Earth, Major Walker watched the holographic display showing the alien fleet's approach. They had passed Neptune's orbit and were heading inward quickly. They're taking the bait, he said to President Adams, who stood beside him. They're not even bothering to destroy our satellites. And Dr. Miller's theory? The president asked. Walker smiled grimly. About to be tested. In the adjacent room, Anna Miller calibrated the final settings on her equipment. Her discovery had been surprising, but made perfect sense in hindsight. The aliens came from a star system with different radiation patterns than our sun. Their technology, and possibly their biology, had evolved accordingly. We're ready, she announced. The network is online. Walker nodded. Begin the operation. Anna pressed the activation key. Across the solar system, hundreds of specially designed satellites powered up. Each began emitting the precise radiation frequencies her team had identified as potentially disruptive to alien systems. It was a solar system-wide trap, with Mars orbit as the trigger point. On the main screen, they watched the alien fleet continue its approach, unaware of what awaited them. The first ships were now crossing into the outer edges of the radiation web. Now we wait, Walker said, quietly. And hope. The fate of humanity hung in the balance as the stars continued their silent watch over the developing battle. The aliens had come to conquer Earth, but they would have to get past Mars first, and humanity had decided that wouldn't happen. The news about the alien fleet spread to every corner of Earth. For the first time in history, all TV channels showed the same thing. People huddled around screens in homes, bars, and town squares. The message was clear. An alien force was coming to take over Earth. In New York, the United Nations building was busier than ever before. Guards checked IDs as world leaders hurried inside. No cameras were allowed in the main meeting room where Major Tom Walker stood before the gathered representatives. We have 3 weeks, Walker said, his voice firm. 3 weeks to prepare for an enemy more advanced than anything we've faced. A woman from Brazil stood up. What chance do we have? Their ships can travel faster than anything we've built, Walker nodded. They're ahead of us in some ways. But we have advantages too. We know our solar system. We know what the sun can do. And we're fighting for our home. The room grew quiet. Then an older man from Japan spoke up. My grandfather told stories of how small forces defeated larger ones through clever thinking. Perhaps this is such a time. Walker smiled for the first time that day. Exactly. We don't need to match their technology. We need to use what we have, in ways they won't expect. By the end of the meeting, the Earth Defense Initiative was more than just an idea. It was a plan with global support. Every nation would play a part. Dr. Anna Miller hadn't slept in 2 days. Her lab at NASA was filled with empty coffee cups and half-eaten sandwiches. She barely noticed when Major Walker walked in. Any progress? He asked. Anna looked up from her computer. Yes, look at this. She showed him a screen with colorful patterns. These are the communication signals the aliens are using. See how they avoid certain frequencies? I think those frequencies might hurt them or their systems. Walker leaned closer. You mean we've found a weakness? Maybe. Anna pointed to another screen. Their ships changed course slightly when our Jupiter probe sent out signals on this band. It was small, but it happened every time. Can we use this? Anna nodded slowly. If we can create enough radiation on these frequencies throughout the solar system, yes, I think we can hurt them. Maybe even stop them. Walker put a hand on her shoulder. This might save us all, Dr. Miller. Get whatever you need. Money is no object. In underground bases around the world, soldiers and scientists worked together. Old enemies now shared information and resources. Russian rocket engineers worked with American computer experts. Chinese factory workers built parts designed by European scientists. Colonel Ray Jones walked through one such base near London. At 60 years old, he had been called back from retirement. Jones was known for thinking differently about battle. Show me what we've got, he said to the team leader. The young woman led him to a large table covered with blueprints. These are the satellites we're building. They'll create a web of radiation throughout the solar system, focused especially around Mars' orbit. Jones studied the plans. How many can we launch? With every nation helping, hundreds, maybe 1,000. Jones nodded approvingly. The aliens will see them, but they won't know what they're for until it's too late. Will it be enough? The woman asked quietly. Jones didn't answer right away. Finally, he said, in war, surprise is sometimes better than strength. We're about to surprise them very badly. On the moon base, Jack Stone and his team worked in the low gravity to set up huge panels that looked like solar arrays. But these weren't for collecting energy. They were for sending it out in very specific ways. Jack's radio crackled. Stone, how's progress? It was Walker checking in from Earth. Almost done, sir. These arrays will hit them with exactly what Dr. Miller prescribed. Good. The satellites are being launched now. Everything needs to be ready in 2 weeks. Jack looked up at the Earth hanging in the black sky. So beautiful. So fragile. We won't let you down, he promised, though he wasn't sure if he was talking to Walker or to Earth itself. All around the world, rocket launches lit up the sky day and night. Some carried satellites, others took supplies to the moon base. People watched and hoped. In a small town in Kansas, a family stood in their backyard watching a bright rocket climb into the evening sky. Is that going to stop the aliens, Dad? A young boy asked. His father put an arm around him. That's part of it, son. Everyone's working together now. Are you scared? The father looked down at his son. Yes, but I'm proud too. Humans are pretty amazing when we work together. Commander Vex watched the activity around the blue planet with growing interest. His ship's sensors showed numerous launches leaving the planet's surface. They are unusually active, he commented to his science officer. Primitive efforts, the officer replied. Their rockets use chemical fuel. The objects they're launching have minimal shielding, no weapons we can detect. Vex made a sound of amusement. Perhaps they're sending us gifts to earn our mercy. The crew laughed. None of them believed this tiny world could pose any threat to the mighty Dominion fleet. Their sun produces unusual radiation patterns, the science officer noted. Different from our home system. Is it a concern? Vex asked. No, Commander, our shields are adjusted. Though some of the radiation Interesting. Vex dismissed the comment. Stay alert, but don't be concerned. This world will fall like all the others. Back on Earth, in the main control room of the Earth Defense Initiative, Walker gathered his top team. The wall screen showed the alien fleet passing Jupiter's orbit. 1 week until they reach our trap near Mars, he said. Are we ready? Dr. Miller nodded. The satellites are in position. The moon base is operational. We can create a radiation field that should severely damage their systems. Colonel Jones added, and if it works, we'll follow up with everything we've got. Missiles, lasers, whatever, can reach them. Walker looked around the room at the faces of scientists and soldiers from dozens of countries. For thousands of years, humans fought each other, he said. We've got pretty good at it. Now we'll show these aliens what happens when all that fighting skill works together. A young technician spoke up. Sir, we're getting readings from our outer satellites. The alien fleet has entered the first detection zone. Everyone turned to the main screen. Tiny dots representing the alien ships moved steadily toward the inner solar system. Any reaction? Walker asked. Not yet, sir. They don't seem to notice anything. Walker nodded. Good. Let them come a little closer. Dr. Miller looked nervous. The effect will be stronger when more satellites can reach them. But if they detect what we're doing too soon, they won't, Colonel Jones said confidently. They think we're primitives. That's their mistake. Walker looked at the screen where Earth was a small blue dot. 1 week, he said quietly. 1 week, to save everything. Around the room, humans from every nation and background stood together, united by a common purpose. For the first time in history, humanity wasn't fighting itself, but standing as one against a threat from the stars. The greatest battle in human history was about to begin. The aliens had come to conquer Earth, but first, they had to get past Mars. And humanity had decided that wouldn't happen. Dr. Anna Miller stared at her computer screen, rubbing her tired eyes. She hadn't left the NASA lab in 3 days. The data patterns from the alien ships filled her screen with colored lines and numbers. You need sleep, said Pete, placing a fresh cup of coffee beside her. Anna shook her head. No time. Look at this. She pointed to a pattern on her screen. I've been studying their communication signals. The aliens evolved around a different kind of star than our sun. What does that mean for us? Pete asked. It means they're not used to certain kinds of radiation that our sun makes naturally. Anna's eyes lit up despite her tiredness. It's like, imagine if you lived your whole life in a place with no loud noises, then suddenly heard a rock concert. It would hurt, right? Pete nodded slowly. And we can create that noise for them? Yes. Our satellites can boost specific radiation types from the sun, types they've shown sensitivity to. Anna smiled. It won't destroy their ships directly, but it might disable their systems enough to make them vulnerable. Pete looked impressed. You just found their weakness. In the Pentagon War Room, Colonel Ray Jones stood before a group of military leaders from around the world. A large screen behind him showed the solar system and the approaching alien fleet. A direct attack won't work, Jones explained. Their ships would destroy our missiles before they got close, so we fight differently. He pointed to the area between Jupiter and Mars. We've positioned our satellites throughout this region. They look harmless, just simple observation devices. The aliens won't bother destroying them. How will simple satellites stop an invasion fleet? Asked a general from India. Jones smiled. Because they're not simple. They're radiation amplifiers, designed by Dr. Miller's team. Together, they'll create a web of energy that targets the alien's weakness. He pressed a button, and the screen showed a simulation of waves spreading through space. Think of it as a trap. We let them walk right into it, thinking there's no danger. Then we spring it when they're too deep to escape easily. A Russian commander nodded with approval. A classic ambush. Exactly, Jones said, but on a solar system scale. Jack Stone floated outside the moon base, making final adjustments to a large array of panels. Earth hung in the black sky above him, blue and peaceful. Through his helmet radio, he heard the voice of his teammate Lisa. Final panel is aligned, Jack. We're ready here. Good work, Jack replied. Let's get inside. Walker wants a full system test in 1 hour. Once back inside the base, Jack joined his team in the control room. The screen showed the massive radiation amplifiers they had built on the moon's surface. These will hit them from behind, Jack explained to a new team member, while the satellites hit them from all other directions. Nowhere to run. Will it be enough? The newcomer asked. Jack's face grew serious. It has to be. Commander Vex stood on the bridge of the Dominion flagship, watching the planets of this primitive solar system grow larger on the view screen. They had passed the gas giant with its many moons and were approaching the inner system. Status report, Vex ordered. All systems normal, Commander, his second-in-command reported. We've detected numerous small objects in orbit around the fourth planet. Simple satellites as expected from a low-tech species. Vex nodded. And the third planet? Still broadcasting chaotic messages. Their leaders are trying to maintain order, but we detect widespread fear. This pleased Vex. Fear made conquest easier. Scared beings didn't fight well. Prepare the conquest protocols, he ordered. We'll be at the third planet in 5 days. The science officer approached cautiously. Commander, I'm detecting unusual solar radiation patterns in the space ahead. Explain. Our sun doesn't produce these specific frequencies. Our ships aren't designed to shield against them. Vex considered this briefly. Will it damage our ships? Unlikely, Commander, but it might cause minor systems interference. Noted. Adjust shields as needed. Nothing will stop our arrival. Back on Earth, Major Walker watched the main screen in the control center as the alien fleet approached the outer edge of their trap. Representatives from every major nation stood around him, tense and silent. They're entering the first phase of the radiation field, a technician announced. Walker nodded. Status of all satellites? Operational and ready, sir. Dr. Miller stood nearby, biting her lip nervously. The effect will be subtle at first. We don't want them to realize what's happening until it's too late. Walker turned to the assembled leaders. Once we activate the full system, there's no turning back. If this doesn't work, we have no other defense that can stop them before they reach Earth. The President of the United States stepped forward. The world stands united, Major. Proceed with the plan. Walker took a deep breath and turned to Dr. Miller. Activate Phase 1. She typed commands into her terminal. Phase 1 activated. Radiation levels increasing by 10%. On the screen, the alien fleet continued its steady approach, now entering deeper into the web of satellites surrounding the path to Mars. Aboard the Dominion flagship, a warning light flashed on a control panel. Commander, called the systems. Officer, we're experiencing minor fluctuations in our communication array. Vex looked unconcerned. Source? Appears to be solar radiation. Unusual patterns, but nothing our shields can't handle. Is it affecting our course? Negative, Commander. Just causing some signal noise. Vex dismissed the issue with a wave. Proceed as planned. Increase speed. I want to reach the third planet. Ahead of schedule. The officer hesitated. Commander, I recommend caution. These radiation patterns are unusual. Are you suggesting this primitive species can affect space itself? Vex laughed harshly. They barely leave their own planet. Increase speed as ordered. In the Earth Control Center, a technician looked up excitedly. Sir, they're increasing speed. They're heading deeper into the trap. Walker exchanged glances with Colonel Jones. They think they're safe. Jones nodded with satisfaction. Pride. Before the fall, Dr. Miller studied her readings. The satellites are registering effects on their outer ships. Small power fluctuations, communication disruptions. Nothing major yet. When do we hit them with full power? Walker asked. When they reach this point. Miller pointed to an area just before Mars orbit. That's where the radiation field is strongest, and where the moon base can add its power too. Walker looked at the screen, where tiny dots representing the alien ships moved closer to the invisible trap. How long? At their increased speed? About 12 hours. The president spoke quietly. 12 hours to determine the fate of humanity. Walker nodded grimly. The trap is set. Now we wait. Throughout the world, people looked up at the night sky. They couldn't see the alien ships or the battle about to take place far out in space. But they knew their future hung in the balance. In homes and streets, in churches and temples, humans prayed, hoped, and waited. For the first time in history, all of humanity faced the same threat, shared the same fear, and hoped for the same victory. Out in space between Jupiter and Mars, the mighty Dominion fleet raced forward, unaware that they were flying into a trap set by the primitive humans they had come to conquer. The clever trap was about to be sprung. The control room at Earth Defense Initiative headquarters was silent, except for the soft beeping of computers. Major Walker stood with his hands behind his back, watching the main screen. The alien fleet was now deep in the radiation web, approaching Mars orbit. Time to full trap activation? Walker asked. 1 hour, sir, replied a technician. They'll reach the primary target zone at 0700 hours. Dr. Miller worked at her station, checking and rechecking her calculations. The radiation levels are already affecting their outer ships, she reported. We're seeing energy fluctuations, consistent with system interference. Colonel Jones nodded with satisfaction. They still don't realize what's happening. They think it's just normal solar activity. Walker's face remained serious. We get one shot at this. When we activate the full trap, they'll know they're under attack. The president entered the room, followed by leaders from other major nations. They had gathered to witness humanity's stand against the invaders. Are we ready, Major? The president asked. Walker nodded. As ready as we'll ever be, sir. On the screen, the alien fleet continued its steady approach toward Mars, unaware of what awaited them. Commander Vex frowned as another warning light flashed on his control panel. This was the third in the past hour. What now? He demanded. Deo, systems officer, looked concerned. Communications are experiencing increased interference, Commander. Several of our escort ships report navigation issues. Cause? Still appears to be solar radiation, but... The officer hesitated. But what? Vex snapped. The pattern seems too consistent. It's affecting specific systems in predictable ways. Vex's frown deepened. Are you suggesting this is deliberate? I'm not sure, Commander. It seems unlikely the primitives could affect space itself this way. Vex studied the system maps. They were approaching the fourth planet, a small, red world. The radiation seemed strongest in this region. Scan those satellites orbiting the fourth planet again, he ordered. Yes, Commander. Scanning now. Vex walked to the front viewport, watching as Mars grew larger in the distance. Behind it, the blue planet, their target, was just a small dot. Soon it would be another conquest for the Dominion. The science officer's voice interrupted his thoughts. Commander, those satellites, they're not just observation devices. They're emitting energy patterns that match the radiation affecting our ships. Vex spun around. What? Are you saying these primitives are attacking us? Yes, Commander. And there's more. The radiation is specifically targeting frequencies our systems use. This is not random. This is a weapon designed against us. For the first time, Vex felt a flicker of concern. Destroy those satellites, now! In the Earth Control Center, alarms began to sound. They're firing on our satellites near Mars, a technician shouted. Walker leaned forward. They figured it. Out. Activate the trap now, full power. Dr. Miller's fingers flew across her keyboard. Activating all satellites simultaneously. Moonbase, stand by for your part. On the main screen, they watched as several satellites near Mars disappeared, destroyed by alien weapons. Too late, Colonel Jones said with a grim smile. They're already surrounded. Dr. Miller pressed the final command key. Trap activated. Full radiation surge. Now. On the moon, Jack Stone and his team watched their monitors light up with the activation signal. This is it, Jack called out. Activate the lunar arrays, full power. The massive panels outside the base hummed to life, focusing concentrated radiation toward the alien fleet. Combined with the satellite web, it created a massive, invisible, Field of energy specifically tuned to disrupt alien technology. Direct hit, Lisa reported. We're reading massive energy spikes across their fleet. Jack watched the readings with intensity. Keep it steady. Don't let up. Aboard the Dominion flagship, chaos erupted. Warning alarms blared from every station as systems began failing across the ship. What's happening? Vex shouted over the noise. Massive radiation surge, the science officer yelled back. It's everywhere, coming from all directions. The view screen flickered and went dark. Emergency lights activated, bathing the bridge in red. Weapon systems failing, reported a tactical officer. Shields down to 60% and dropping. Vex gripped his command chair as the ship shuddered. Evasive maneuvers, get us out of this radiation field. Navigation is compromised, Commander. And... The officer paused, looking at his readings with disbelief. We're also being hit from behind. There's another radiation source coming from their moon. Vex slammed his fist down. Impossible. How could these primitives create such a weapon? Around the flagship, smaller ships began drifting out of formation as their systems failed. Some lost power completely, floating helplessly in space. Commander, our biomechanical interfaces are being affected, the medical officer reported urgently. Crew members connected to ship systems are reporting pain and disorientation. For the first time in his long career of conquest, Commander, Vex felt fear. These humans were not the helpless primitives he had expected. They had set a trap, and the Dominion fleet had flown right into it. Back on Earth, the control room erupted in cheers as data streamed in. It's working, Dr. Miller exclaimed. Their ships are losing power and control. The main screen showed the alien fleet in disarray. Ships drifted out of formation, some spinning slowly as their navigation systems failed. They're more vulnerable than we expected, Colonel Jones observed. Their biological systems must be partially integrated with their technology. Walker turned to the weapons officer. Are our long-range missiles ready? Yes, sir. Primed and targeted. Walker looked to the president, who nodded his approval. Launch missiles, Walker ordered. Target their main ships first. Across Earth, missile silos opened. The largest rockets ever built by humans roared to life, climbing into the sky on columns of flame. Their target, the now vulnerable alien fleet near Mars. Commander Vex struggled to maintain control as systems continued to fail around him. Reroute emergency power to shields and propulsion, he ordered. We need to get out of this radiation field. Trying, Commander, but the officer was cut off as a new alarm sounded. Multiple objects approaching from the third planet, announced the tactical officer. High speed, appears to be missiles. Vex's eyes widened. Intercept them. Weapon. Systems are compromised. We can't get a lock. Vex stared at the tactical display in disbelief. The supposedly primitive humans had not only created an effective trap, but were now launching a coordinated attack. All ships, defensive formation, he commanded. But many ships couldn't respond, their communication systems dead or dying in the radiation field. The first missile struck one of the smaller ships, destroying it completely. More followed, targeting the largest vessels in the fleet. Abandon the conquest plan, Vex ordered. All functional ships, retreat beyond the radiation field. We'll regroup and return with a larger force. But even as he gave the order, Vex knew many ships wouldn't make it. The radiation was too strong, the missiles too accurate. The mighty Dominion fleet, which had conquered countless worlds, was being defeated by a species they had severely underestimated. In the Earth Control Center, Walker watched as the alien fleet tried to retreat. Several of their ships are attempting to escape the radiation field, reported a technician. Maintain radiation levels, Walker ordered, and continue missile strikes. Don't let their command ships escape. Dr. Miller studied her readings. The radiation is still building. The combined effect of all satellites in the moon base is creating a cascading reaction. It's becoming self-sustaining. Colonel Jones looked up sharply. Self-sustaining? Is that dangerous for us? Miller shook her head. No. It's contained to the specific frequencies that affect their technology, but it means they can't escape easily. The field will follow them until it naturally dissipates. On the main screen, they watched as more alien ships lost power. Some were hit by missiles, exploding in brilliant flashes against the blackness of space. Others drifted helplessly, all systems dead. The president stepped forward, his face solemn but hopeful. "Is it possible? Are we winning?" Walker nodded slowly. "Yes, sir. I believe we are." Humanity had done the impossible, using ingenuity instead of matching the aliens' advanced technology. They had turned the solar system itself into a weapon. The battle for Earth had begun, and humans were winning. The battle near Mars continued for hours. In the Earth Defense Initiative control room, exhausted staff watched as the alien fleet fell apart piece by piece. "Status report," Major Walker said, his voice hoarse from giving orders. 80% of alien vessels show no power signatures," replied a technician. "Their main ships are badly damaged. No signs of organized resistance." Dr. Miller looked up from her station. "The radiation field is holding steady. Any ship that tries to leave is immediately affected." Colonel Jones studied the tactical display. "They're done. They can't fight, and they can't run." A cheer began to spread through the control room. It started quietly with a few people and quickly grew until everyone was shouting and hugging each other. Tears flowed freely. People who had been strangers days ago now embraced like old friends. The president raised his hands, calling for quiet. When the room settled, he spoke solemnly. "This appears to be a victory, but let's not celebrate too soon. Major Walker, what is your assessment?" Walker straightened his tired shoulders. "Sir, the alien fleet has been neutralized. They pose no immediate threat to Earth. However," he paused, looking at the screens showing disabled alien ships. "We need to decide what to do with the survivors." A heavy silence fell over the room. In the excitement of survival, few had considered what would come next. Commander Vex lay on the floor of his flagship's bridge. Emergency lights cast an eerie red glow over the scene of destruction. Half his crew were unconscious or dead, their biomechanical implants overloaded by the radiation. The ship drifted powerless, spinning slowly in the emptiness between Mars and Earth. Through a viewport, Vex could see other Dominion vessels in similar states. Dark, lifeless hulks, where proud warships had been. "How?" he whispered to himself. "How did primitives do this?" The science officer crawled to his side, badly injured but conscious. "They used our own technology against us, Commander. The radiation, they found our weakness." Vex stared at the small blue planet visible in the distance. It looked so harmless, so small, yet it had produced beings capable of defeating the mighty Dominion fleet. "Send the distress signal," Vex ordered weakly. "The Dominion must be warned." "Communications are dead, Commander," the officer replied. "Nothing works." For the first time in his long life of conquest, Vex understood defeat. The humans would come for them now. The conquerors had become the conquered. On the moon base, Jack Stone and his team monitored the effectiveness of their radiation arrays. "We did it," Lisa said, her voice filled with wonder. "We actually did it," Jack nodded, watching the screens showing the disabled alien fleet. "Looks like Earth is sending ships to investigate the alien vessels. They want to capture their technology." "What will happen to the aliens?" someone asked. Jack's face grew serious. "That's not for us to decide. But I imagine we'll learn a lot from them and their ships." He looked up at Earth through the base's window. The blue planet seemed more precious than ever. "One thing's for sure," he said quietly. "Everything changes. From today, humanity knows we're not alone and we know we can defend ourselves." 3 months later, Major Walker stood in a massive hangar at Area 51. Before him was the partially disassembled command ship of the alien fleet. Scientists and engineers crawled over it like ants, studying every piece of technology. Dr. Miller approached, carrying a tablet. "Amazing news, Tom. The propulsion system works on principles we barely understood before. With this knowledge, we could reach nearby stars within a decade. Walker nodded. And the weapons? Equally advanced. But honestly, our radiation trick was more effective than anything they had. They never expected to be vulnerable. They walked together through the hangar, past pieces of alien technology being carefully studied. What about the prisoners? Walker asked quietly. Miller's face grew serious. They're cooperating mostly. Their commander, Vex, still refuses to speak, but others are providing valuable information. Such as? Miller stopped walking. Tom, they've conquered dozens of worlds, and the Dominion is much larger than just this fleet. They'll send others when they realize what happened. Walker frowned. How long do we have? Years, probably. The Dominion is vast, but communication between stars takes time. We need to be ready when they come. Walker looked around at the alien technology. Then we better learn fast. 1 year after the battle, the United Nations Space Command held a ceremony at their new headquarters. Representatives from every nation gathered to witness the unveiling of humanity's new defense fleet. 6 ships floated in orbit above Earth, visible on the huge screens in the ceremonial hall. They were unlike anything humans had built before, a perfect blend of Earth design and alien technology. The president stood at the podium addressing the crowd. 1 year ago, we faced extinction. Aliens came to conquer Earth, believing us to be primitive and helpless. They never reached Mars. The crowd applauded, many with tears in their eyes as they remembered the fear of those days. Today we unveil the Guardian Fleet. Using technology recovered from the alien ships combined with the ingenious radiation weapons that saved us, these vessels will protect Earth from any future threats. On the main screen, the ships activated their engines, glowing with blue energy. But we will not just defend, we will explore. The stars are no longer beyond our reach. Within 5 years, the first human expedition will leave our solar system. The applause was thunderous. In his new office at the Space Command, Major Tom Walker, now Admiral Walker, looked at a star map covering one wall. Small lights indicated the locations of known Dominion worlds, based on information from the captured aliens. Colonel Jones, now his second-in-command, studied the map with him. They'll come eventually, Jones said. The Dominion won't forget what happened here. Walker nodded. I'm counting on it, but next time we won't be waiting inside our solar system. He pointed to locations beyond the solar system. We'll have early warning stations here, here, and here, and the Guardian Fleet will be ready. Jones smiled slightly. From nearly conquered to preparing our own defenses among the stars. Not bad for 1 year's work. Walker turned to the window, looking up at the night sky. The universe just got a lot smaller and a lot more dangerous, but humanity has proven one thing. What's that? Jones asked. That we belong out there, and anyone who thinks we're easy prey is making a deadly mistake. In the depths of space far beyond Pluto, a small probe drifted silently. It was the first of hundreds that would form humanity's early warning network. On its side was a simple message in multiple languages, including the Dominion script learned from the prisoners. It read, "This system is protected. Approach in peace or not at all." Inside the probe, advanced sensors watched the stars, ready to alert Earth to any approach. The message was clear to any who might come with conquest in mind. Earth was no longer an easy target. They had come to conquer Earth, but were killed by humans before they reached Mars. Any others who tried would meet the same fate. Humanity had taken its first steps into a larger universe, not as victims but as equals ready to defend their home. As Admiral Walker had said at the launch of the Guardian Fleet, "Today we put the stars on notice. Humanity has arrived." The stars shone brightly against the black canvas of space as the massive Varn ship approached the outer edges of the Sol system. On the command deck, Commander Dex stood with his hands clasped behind his back, watching the blue-green planet. On the main screen, Earth looked peaceful from this distance, unaware of the eyes now fixed upon it. "Preliminary scans complete, Commander," said Officer Pell, her fingers moving quickly across the control panel. "The planet has abundant water, breathable atmosphere, and diverse life forms. It appears ideal for our needs." Dex nodded slowly. He had led 7 successful planetary acquisitions for the Varn Collective, but something about this mission felt different. The Varn High Command had identified Earth as their next target after their long-range scanners detected radio signals suggesting intelligent life. But the signals appeared primitive compared to Varn technology. "What about their defense capabilities?" Dex asked, his voice deep and measured. "Limited, sir," replied Pell. "They have basic space travel, satellites, and some nuclear weapons, nothing that could threaten our fleet. Their technology seems to be at least 200 cycles behind ours." Dex smiled. This would be an easy conquest, another jewel in the crown of the ever-expanding Varn Collective. They needed new worlds to support their growing population, and Earth seemed perfect. "Begin the standard observation protocol," he ordered. "Send scout ships to monitor their major population centers, but maintain stealth mode. We will observe for 20 cycles before making our presence known." "Yes, Commander," Pell responded, relaying the orders to the fleet. On Earth, life continued as normal. In a small radio astronomy station nestled in the mountains of Wyoming, Jack Miller worked the night shift alone. At 45, Jack had spent most of his career listening to the stars, hoping to detect signs of intelligent life. Most of his colleagues thought his dedication was foolish, but Jack never lost hope. The computer beeped, drawing Jack's attention. He adjusted his glasses and leaned forward, studying the unusual pattern appearing on his screen. "What the hell?" he muttered, tapping commands to enhance the signal. The pattern didn't match any natural cosmic phenomenon he'd ever seen. It appeared structured, almost like a code. Jack's heart raced as he began recording the signal and running it through various analysis programs. After 20 years of searching, could this finally be it? First contact? He reached for his phone to call his supervisor, but stopped. They'd want proof, solid evidence before taking him seriously. He needed more data. Outside the station, stars twinkled innocently in the night sky, hiding the Varn scout ship that hovered silently above, its advanced cloaking technology rendering it invisible to Earth's detection systems. 3 days later, at the Pentagon, Air Force General Tom Harris reviewed reports of unusual radar anomalies detected near Jupiter. The anomalies had appeared suddenly and then vanished just as quickly. "Could be equipment malfunction," suggested Major Lisa Brown, his intelligence officer. A former fighter pilot with sharp instincts, Lisa had never fully trusted technology, but similar readings were reported by 3 separate tracking stations. General Harris frowned. "Natural phenomena?" "Possibly," Lisa replied, though her expression suggested otherwise. "But the movement patterns seem too deliberate. I've never seen anything like it." "Keep this quiet for now," the general ordered. "I don't want to cause panic over what might be a technical glitch, but double our satellite surveillance of that sector." Lisa nodded, but as she left the general's office, an uneasy feeling settled in her stomach. Something was out there, watching them. She could feel it. Back on the Varn command ship, Dex reviewed the first reports from the scout vessels. The data confused him. "These readings can't be right," he said, pointing to the screen. "Their military bases show energy signatures far more advanced than their general technology level would suggest." Officer Mick, the chief science officer, scratched his gray chin thoughtfully. "It is unusual. Their civilian technology appears quite basic, but these military installations, some of their capabilities approach our own. A species that develops military technology before civilian applications?" asked Pell. "That doesn't follow the normal evolution pattern." Dex felt a flutter of concern. The Varn Collective had conquered many worlds, but all followed predictable technological development paths. Earth seemed different. "Send more scouts," he ordered. "I want detailed scans of every major military installation, and maintain absolute stealth. If they are more advanced than we thought, we cannot risk early detection." At his small apartment, Jack had barely slept for 3 days. His walls were covered with printouts of the signal patterns he'd detected. He'd tried every decoding algorithm he knew, but nothing made sense yet. The phone rang, startling him from his work. "Jack Miller," he answered absently. "Jack, it's Ben, from the station. You need to come in right now." Ben's voice sounded strained. "We're picking up those signals again, but they're stronger, and they're coming from multiple points now." Jack's heart skipped a beat. "I'll be there in 20 minutes. As he rushed to gather his notes, Jack glanced out his window at the night sky. For a moment he thought he saw a faint light moving unnaturally among the stars. He blinked, and it was gone. Lisa Brown sat in a classified briefing room with representatives from various intelligence agencies. The atmosphere was tense as satellite images flashed on the large screen. "These objects were captured by our deep space telescopes near Jupiter's orbit," explained Dr. Allen from NASA. "They disappeared from our conventional radar almost immediately, but the optical telescopes caught them briefly. The images showed blurry shapes that clearly didn't match any known spacecraft design. They were smooth, almost oval, with no visible propulsion systems." "Are we talking about—" someone began, not finishing the question. "We're not making any official conclusions yet," Dr. Allen replied carefully. "But these objects move in ways that defy our understanding of physics. They accelerated from stationary to 60,000 miles per hour in less than 3 seconds. "Any communication attempts?" asked a CIA representative. "None," replied Dr. Allen. "But we've detected unusual scanning frequencies directed at Earth. Whatever these objects are, they're studying us." Lisa felt a chill run down her spine. "How long have they been watching?" "We first detected them 5 days ago, but they could have been there longer with their stealth capabilities." The room fell silent as the implications sank in. Humanity might not be alone anymore. On the Varn ship, alarms suddenly blared. Dex rushed to the command center. "What's happening?" he demanded. "One of our scout ships was nearly detected, Commander," Pell reported nervously. "Earth's detection systems are more sophisticated than we thought. The scout had to execute an emergency maneuver to avoid being tracked." "Impossible," Dex muttered. "Their technology shouldn't be capable of that." Mick approached with a serious expression. "Commander, I've completed a deeper analysis of their communications. Their technological development doesn't follow a steady progression like most species. They have periods of explosive advancement, especially during times of conflict." He displayed a chart showing Earth's technological timeline. "Notice these spikes. They coincide with what they call world wars and other periods of intense competition." Dex studied the chart with growing concern. "They advance through conflict?" "Yes, Commander. And there's more. Some of their military installations show signs of technology that shouldn't exist based on their overall development level. It's as if they're hiding their true capabilities." The command center fell silent. The easy conquest Dex had anticipated suddenly seemed much less certain. "Recall all scout ships," he ordered finally. "We need to reassess our approach. This planet may require more careful handling than we thought." As the officers rushed to comply, Dex turned back to the view screen, gazing at the distant blue world. For the first time in his long career of conquest, he felt something unfamiliar, a twinge of doubt. On Earth, unaware of the eyes watching from beyond, humanity continued its daily routines. But in hidden military bases and one small radio astronomy station in Wyoming, the first pieces of a world-changing puzzle were beginning to come together. The game of cat and mouse had begun. Only neither side yet knew which was which. Jack Miller's discovery had not gone unnoticed. Within days, his small radio astronomy station in Wyoming became the center of attention for a select group of government officials. They arrived in black SUVs early in the morning, led by Major Lisa Brown. "Mr. Miller," Lisa said, showing her military ID. "We need to talk about the signals you've been tracking." Jack's eyes widened. "How did you know about that?" I haven't published anything yet. We monitor communications related to unusual astronomical phenomena, she replied carefully. Your discovery aligns with other observations we've been tracking. Inside the station, Jack displayed his findings on the main screen, complex patterns that repeated at precise intervals. These aren't natural, Jack explained, his voice filled with excitement and fear. They're too structured, too regular, and they're coming from multiple points now, primarily near Jupiter's orbit. Lisa nodded, her expression grave. We've detected unusual objects in that same area, objects that move in ways our physics can't explain. Jack felt a chill run down his spine. After years of searching the stars for signs of intelligent life, the confirmation brought more fear than joy. Are we being invaded? He asked quietly. We don't know yet, Lisa answered honestly, but we need your help to understand what they're saying. Aboard the Varn flagship, Commander Dex faced mounting problems. Their stealth technology wasn't working as effectively as expected. 3 scout ships had nearly been detected in the past. Week alone. How is this possible? Dex demanded, pacing the command center. Their detection systems shouldn't be this advanced. Officer Mick displayed new findings on the main screen. We've discovered something unusual, Commander. Earth appears to have a hidden defense network. It's cleverly disguised as ordinary satellites and space debris, but our deep scans reveal sophisticated technology. Dex studied the images with growing concern. The humans had created a detection grid that covered their entire planet, disguised as ordinary communication satellites. They're paranoid, Officer Pell observed. They built all this without even knowing we exist. Or perhaps they've encountered others before us, Mick suggested quietly. The possibility hung in the air, unsettling the entire command staff. The Varn Collective had always believed themselves to be among the most advanced spacefaring civilizations. The idea that others might have already visited Earth, or worse, that humanity had repelled previous visitors, was disturbing. We need more information, Dex decided finally. Prepare a landing team. We'll send them to one of their less populated areas to collect intelligence directly. General Tom Harris stood before the Emergency Council of World Leaders, gathered secretly, in an underground facility beneath Geneva. The faces on the screens represented every major nation on Earth. Ladies and gentlemen, Harris began, the evidence is now undeniable. We are being observed by vessels of non-human origin. Murmurs filled the secure communication channels as Harris displayed satellite images and data collected from around the world. In the past 2 weeks, we've recorded over 50 instances of these craft in Earth's orbit. They're using advanced cloaking technology, but our Sentinel defense network has detected their energy signatures. The President of the United States leaned forward. General, what do we know about their intentions? Very little, Madam President. They haven't attempted communication. Their behavior suggests reconnaissance. They're studying us, particularly our military capabilities. Could this be first contact? Asked the British Prime Minister. The Russian president's voice was grim. First contacts don't typically involve stealth. This appears more like preparation for something else. We agree, General Harris replied, which is why we've activated Protocol Omega. The announcement caused visible reactions among the world leaders. Protocol Omega had been established decades ago, a contingency plan for exactly this scenario. The Omega weapons platforms are now on standby, Harris continued, and we've begun warming up the Horizon system. The Chinese premier's eyes widened. Horizon wasn't scheduled to be operational for another 3 years. We accelerated the timeline, Harris explained. The system is at 70% capacity now. If these visitors have hostile intentions, they'll find Earth far from defenseless. Near the small town of Baker, Nevada, the night sky briefly shimmered as a Varn scout ship descended silently into the desert. 2 figures emerged wearing adaptive suits that helped them blend into the landscape. Remember, observation only, said Tark, the mission leader. We gather information and leave without detection. His companion Lear activated a scanning device. The nearest human settlement is 5 miles east. Small population, minimal security. They moved through the desert night with practiced efficiency, their enhanced vision allowing them to see clearly in the darkness. As they approached the town, they slowed, observing the simple structures and primitive vehicles. Their ground transportation still uses combustion engines, Lear noted with disdain. Primitive, just as our reports indicated. Tark wasn't so certain. The contrast between Earth's apparent technological level and their surprisingly advanced detection systems troubled him. A sudden noise made them freeze. Headlights appeared on the desert road coming their way. "Hide," Tark hissed, activating his suit's camouflage mode. The vehicle, a military truck, stopped nearby. Two humans emerged, carrying strange devices that emitted a soft hum. "Signal's strongest here," one said, adjusting his equipment, just like the others. "Third one this week," the other replied. "Command thinks they're landing parties gathering intel." Tark and Lear exchanged alarmed glances. The humans knew they were coming? How was that possible? The soldiers swept the area with their devices, moving steadily closer to the hidden Varn. "We need to retreat," Tark whispered. "Now." As they began to back away, Lear stepped on a dry branch. The snap seemed deafening in the quiet desert night. One soldier raised his hand. "You hear that?" Both humans raised weapons, switching on powerful lights that cut through the darkness. "Military command, this is Outpost 7. One spoke into a communication device. "We have movement at the landing site, requesting immediate backup." Tark signaled to Lear, and both Varn began running toward their hidden ship. Behind them they heard shouts and the sound of vehicles starting up. "They saw us!" Lear gasped as they sprinted across the desert. "Impossible," Tark replied. "Our suits should make us invisible to their eyes." Yet somehow the humans were tracking them with unerring accuracy. They reached their ship just as military vehicles appeared on the horizon. As they lifted off, something struck the hull, a tracking device that began broadcasting their position to every military installation within 1,000 miles. Back at the radio astronomy station, Jack Miller worked alongside a team of cryptographers and linguists, attempting to decode the alien signals. Progress had been slow until Lisa brought in a new piece of information. "We captured this from the scout ship that landed in Nevada," she explained, displaying a new signal pattern. "It's a direct transmission to what we believe is their mothership." Jack compared it to his earlier recordings. "The structure is similar, but this is much clearer." He began running it through his decoding algorithms. "If we can break this, we might finally understand what they're saying." The computer worked for hours, analyzing patterns and searching for meaning in the alien communication. Finally, a partial translation appeared. "Human defenses, unexpected, request additional preparation for..." The last word made everyone in the room go silent. "Are we sure about this translation?" Lisa asked, her voice tight. Jack nodded, slowly. "The algorithm is confident about this part. The last word translates to conquest or possibly acquisition." Lisa looked at the team of scientists and military personnel gathered in the small station. "I need to inform General Harris immediately. It appears we're not dealing with peaceful explorers." As she stepped outside to make the secure call, Lisa looked up at the stars. Somewhere up there, an alien fleet was preparing to take their world. What they didn't know was that humanity had been preparing for this moment for generations. Earth was about to show its teeth. The urgent meeting of Earth's Joint Defense Council convened at 0300 hours in the underground facility beneath Geneva. Representatives from all major military powers sat around a circular table, their faces grim in the harsh light. General Harris stood at the central display, showing footage of the alien scout ship that had been tracked leaving Nevada. "We successfully attached a tracking device to their vessel," he explained. "For 6 hours we monitored its return to the main fleet hiding behind Jupiter's moon Callisto. Then our signal was detected and blocked." "How many ships are we facing?" asked the Russian commander. "Based on energy signatures, we estimate 18 major vessels and at least 40 smaller craft," Harris replied. "Their technology appears to be approximately 30 years ahead of our publicly known capabilities." The emphasis on publicly known wasn't lost on anyone in the room. For decades, the world's governments had hidden their most advanced weapon systems, preparing for this very scenario. The translation team has confirmed the aliens' intentions, Harris continued. They call themselves the Varn Collective. They're an expansionist species that has conquered multiple worlds. Earth is next on their list. Lisa Brown stepped forward. The good news is they believe us to be less advanced than we actually are. Their reconnaissance has focused primarily on our civilian infrastructure, which gives us an advantage. Then, it's time to activate the Horizon system, said the Chinese general. Harris nodded. All Horizon platforms are now at full operational status. Additionally, we're deploying Aurora squadrons to defensive positions. The Aurora program, hypersonic, aircraft with neural link pilots, had been kept completely secret from the public. Only those with the highest security clearances knew of their existence. What about the captured alien? Asked the French representative. Harris glanced at Lisa. Major Brown will lead the interrogation team. Commander Dex paced the command deck of his ship, fury evident in every step. The mission to Earth's surface had been a disaster. How did they detect our scouts? He demanded. And how did they manage to track the ship back toward our position? Officer Mick looked troubled. Commander, we've analyzed the device they attached to our scout ship. It's far more sophisticated than anything we expected from them. Their level of paranoia is unprecedented, Officer Pell added. They have defense systems in place against threats they shouldn't even know exist. A communication alert sounded and Dex turned to the main screen. The face of Supreme Director Cass appeared, the leader of the Varn Collective expedition. Commander Dex, Cass said, his voice cold. Your reconnaissance has been compromised. The humans are aware of our presence and appear to have unexpected defensive capabilities. Dex stood straight. Yes, Supreme Director. We've encountered some complications. The Collective does not tolerate complications, Commander. Cass's eyes narrowed. Our resource needs grow urgent. We cannot wait any longer. You will proceed with the first phase of acquisition immediately. But Supreme Director, we haven't completed our assessment of their— That is an order, Commander, Cass interrupted. Target their largest military installation. Show them our power, break their will to resist quickly. The communication ended abruptly, leaving Dex staring at the blank screen. He turned to his officers. Prepare the attack fleet, he ordered. Reluctantly. Target their military base in the region they call Nevada. It appears to be a testing ground for their weapon systems. In a secure facility at Area 51, Lisa Brown stood before a transparent containment cell. Inside sat a humanoid, figure with grayish-blue skin and large almond-shaped eyes. The captured Varn scout Tark watched her warily. We know why you're here, Lisa said clearly. We've decoded enough of your communications to understand your intentions. The alien showed no reaction, though the universal translator they'd developed seemed to be working. Your leaders call it acquisition, Lisa continued. We call it invasion. Either way, it won't succeed. Tark finally spoke, his words translated by the system. Your species is primitive. You have no conception of the Varn Collective's power. Lisa smiled slightly. Are you certain about that? Your stealth technology failed. Your scout ship was tracked. You were captured. Does that suggest we're as primitive as you believed? A flicker of uncertainty crossed Tark's face. Suddenly, alarms blared throughout the facility. A security officer burst into the room. Major Brown, we're detecting multiple objects entering Earth's atmosphere at high speed. They're heading straight for us. The Varn attack ships descended through Earth's atmosphere, their weapons charged. Commander Dex watched from the command ship, still troubled by the hasty decision to attack. Target locked, reported Officer Pell. The human military installation is directly below us. Fire warning shots first, Dex ordered. Let them see our power. Perhaps they will surrender without unnecessary destruction. The lead ships fired energy weapons that struck the desert around Area 51, creating massive explosions that shook the ground. Dex expected panic, disorganization, perhaps immediate surrender signals. What happened instead shocked him to his core. From Concealed Underground Hangars, Aircraft of unknown design launched into the sky. They moved with impossible speed and agility, their hulls gleaming with a material that partially deflected the Varn scanning systems. "What are those?" Dex demanded. "They weren't in any of our reconnaissance reports." Before anyone could answer, the Earth aircraft opened fire. Their weapons, some form of directed energy technology the Varn had never encountered, sliced through the shields of the attack ships with frightening ease. "Impossible," shouted Officer Mick. "Their weapons technology shouldn't be this advanced." 3 Varn ships exploded almost simultaneously. The others began evasive maneuvers, but the Earth aircraft pursued them with unerring precision. Then, from orbit, new energy signatures appeared. Hidden satellites suddenly revealed themselves, dropping their camouflage to expose weapon systems that immediately locked onto the Varn fleet. "Full retreat," Dex ordered, stunned by the unexpected resistance. "Return to the main fleet immediately." As the surviving attack ships fled back to space, Dex stared at the tactical display in disbelief. The humans had not only anticipated their attack but had prepared defenses specifically designed to counter Varn technology. This was no primitive species awaiting conquest. This was something the Varn had never encountered before, a world that had somehow prepared for an enemy they had never met. In the aftermath of the brief battle, Lisa returned to the containment cell. Tark sat perfectly still, but she could sense his shock. "Still think we're primitive?" she asked quietly. "How?" Tark's voice held genuine confusion. "How did you know to prepare such specific defenses against technology you've never encountered?" Lisa studied him for a moment before answering. "Because you're not the first to set your sights on Earth," she replied. "You're just the first we decided to warn instead of destroy completely." Tark's eyes widened as the implications became clear. Humanity wasn't just defending itself, it was sending a message to the entire Varn collective. The game had changed entirely. The aftermath of the failed Varn attack left Earth's leaders with a critical decision. In the Joint Defense Council room, heated debate filled the air. "We should launch a full counteroffensive while they're disorganized," argued the Russian general. "Show them our full strength immediately." General Harris shook his head. "That would be premature. We've bloodied their nose, yes, but we haven't seen their full capabilities either." The Chinese representative leaned forward. "What about the blackout protocol? It's time to show them exactly what they're dealing with." A tense silence filled the room. The blackout protocol was Earth's ultimate deterrent, a system so powerful it had never been tested at full capacity. "Madam President?" Harris turned to the American leader on the main screen. She nodded slowly. "Activate blackout. Send the message." In the desert facility, Jack Miller worked frantically with a team of communication specialists. After the battle, he'd been transferred to Area 51 to assist with the next phase of Earth's defense plan. "The transmission package is ready," he told Lisa, who stood watching the large screens displaying Earth's orbital defense network. "Are we sure about this? Once they see what we can do." "They need to see it," Lisa replied firmly. "It's the only way to end this without full-scale war." Jack nodded and turned to his console. "Broadcasting now." Around Earth, hidden installations suddenly activated. Massive energy signatures appeared where nothing seemed to exist before, as hundreds of stealth platforms revealed themselves simultaneously. Aboard the Varn flagship, Commander Dex faced the wrath of Supreme Director Cass. "Your attack was a complete failure," Cass shouted, his image looming large on the command screen. "3 ships destroyed and the rest retreating like cowards." "Supreme Director, the humans have technology that wasn't in any of our scans," Dex explained urgently. "Their weapons penetrated our shields as if they were designed specifically to counter our systems." "Impossible." Cass dismissed the idea with a wave of his hand. "They are a primitive—" The communication suddenly cut off as alarms blared throughout the ship. "Commander!" Officer Pell's voice was tight with fear. "We're detecting massive energy buildups all around Earth's orbit. Hundreds of platforms. They were cloaked somehow." "Show me," Dex ordered. The main screen displayed a terrifying sight. Where moments before there had been empty space, Now hundreds of weapons platforms orbited Earth. Each one radiated energy readings that matched or exceeded the Varn's own weapon systems. "How did we miss this?" Dex whispered, stunned by the revelation. "Commander, we're receiving a transmission from Earth," Officer Mick reported. "It's being broadcast on all frequencies, including our secure channels." "How do they know our secure frequencies?" Dex demanded, but ordered, "Put it on screen." The image of General Harris appeared. Behind him stood representatives from Earth's major powers. "Attention Varn collective vessels," Harris began, his voice calm but firm. "Your attack on our planet has been repelled. This was merely a demonstration of a fraction of our defensive capabilities." The screen split to show footage that made the Varn command staff gasp. It showed Earth's history of warfare, from ancient battles to modern conflicts. The brutal efficiency with which humans killed each other was shocking, even to the battle-hardened Varn. "Humanity has spent its entire history fighting," Harris continued. "We've fought each other for thousands of years, perfecting the art of war, and for the past 70 years, we've been preparing for you." "For us specifically?" Dex asked, though he knew the human couldn't hear his question. As if in answer, the screen changed again to show wreckage, alien wreckage that clearly wasn't Varn in design. "You're not the first to visit Earth with conquest in mind," Harris explained. "But unlike our previous visitors, we're giving you a warning instead of immediately destroying your fleet." Dex felt a chill run through him. The humans had faced other invaders and prevailed. The display changed to show the orbital platforms surrounding Earth. Each one powered up simultaneously, directing beams of energy that converged at a point just beyond the moon. The combined energy formed a sphere that suddenly expanded outward in a controlled wave. As the wave passed through space, it completely disabled 3 unmanned Varn scout ships that had been positioned to observe Earth. The ships didn't explode. They simply went dark, every system simultaneously failing. "This is our blackout system," Harris explained. "A targeted electromagnetic pulse designed specifically to disable Varn technology. We've just demonstrated it at 5% capacity." Officer Mick looked up from his analysis console, his face pale. "Commander, at full power, that system could disable our entire fleet instantaneously." "We have advanced beyond what you believed possible," Harris continued, "and we've incorporated technology from those who came before you. We've spent decades preparing for this moment." The screen split again to show Earth's military forces, advanced aircraft, weapons systems, and soldiers, all mobilizing around the world. "We do not want war." Harris's voice became solemn. "But make no mistake, if you force this conflict, we will fight. Humanity has never been united before. You have given us that gift. Every nation, every person on Earth now stands as one against external threats." The final images showed Earth's hidden defense system in its entirety. Weapons platforms, spacecraft hangars opening in remote locations, missile silos emerging from beneath innocent-looking terrain. "You have 24 hours to withdraw from our solar system," Harris concluded. "After that, we will consider your presence an act of war and respond accordingly." The transmission ended, leaving the Varn Command Center in stunned silence. "Did it work?" Jack asked, watching the screens that monitored the Varn fleet's position. Lisa checked the data from Earth's long-range sensors. "Their ships are holding position. At least they didn't immediately attack." General Harris joined them, his face showing the strain of the past days. "Now we wait. Either they leave or we find out if our preparations were enough." "Will they really just leave?" Jack wondered aloud. "After coming all this way?" Lisa glanced toward the section of the facility where Tark, the captured Varn, was being held. "That depends on whether they believe us." In his private quarters, Commander Dex reviewed the human transmission for the 5th time. Their warning had been precise, methodical, and terrifying in its implications. A species that had evolved through constant warfare, that had apparently defeated previous alien encounters, and that had somehow anticipated Varn technology specifically. His door chimed, and Officer Mick entered carrying a data tablet. Commander, I've completed the analysis of the human defense system, Mick reported. It's remarkable. Their blackout technology appears to generate a targeted dampening field that affects only specific energy signatures. Ours, Dex said quietly. Yes. It's as if they've been studying our technology for decades, but that's impossible. Dex wasn't so sure anymore. Unless, sir, unless they've encountered other species with similar technology. Species that never returned to the collective. The implication hung heavy in the air. The Varn had always assumed that exploration vessels that failed to return had met with natural disasters or technical failures. But what if some had found Earth? Dex made his decision. Prepare a communication to Supreme Director Cass. Include all data from the human transmission. I'm recommending an immediate withdrawal from this system. The Supreme Director won't be pleased, Mick warned. Better displeased than destroyed, Dex replied grimly. These humans are not what we thought they were. They're something far more dangerous, a species that has evolved through conflict and emerged stronger. As Mick left to prepare the communication, Dex looked once more at the final image from the human transmission. A unified Earth prepared for war, its hidden teeth finally bared to the stars. Supreme Director Cass's face filled the main screen of the Varn Command Center, his expression one of cold fury. The assembled officers stood rigidly at attention as their leader absorbed the information about Earth's warning and impressive display of power. This is unacceptable, Cass finally said, his voice dangerously quiet. The Varn Collective has never retreated. We have conquered 17 worlds. We will not be threatened by primitives who have barely left their own atmosphere. Commander, Dex stepped forward, choosing his words carefully. Supreme Director, with all due respect, these humans are far from primitive. Their technology suggests they've been preparing for this specific encounter for decades. Impossible, Cass dismissed. They couldn't have known of our existence. The evidence suggests they've encountered other spacefaring species before us, Dex countered. Species that may have had similar technology to ours. They've studied these encounters and prepared accordingly. Cass's eyes narrowed. You sound afraid, Commander. Not afraid, Supreme Director. Practical. Our mission was to find resources with minimal resistance. This world will extract a cost far greater than the value of its acquisition. The command center fell silent as Cass considered this. Finally, he spoke. You have 12 hours to subdue their primary defense systems. If you fail, you will be replaced. The full invasion fleet is already en route. The screen went dark, leaving Dex and his officers staring at each other. Prepare all vessels for combat, Dex ordered, his voice heavy. Target their orbital platforms first. If we can disable their blackout system, we might stand a chance. As his officers rushed to comply, Dex knew he was leading them into a battle they might not survive. But orders were orders, and the Varn Collective had never known defeat. In the underground command center beneath the Nevada desert, Earth's military leaders monitored the Varn fleet's movements with growing tension. They're repositioning, General Harris noted, watching the tactical display. Formation suggests they're preparing for an attack. Lisa Brown stood beside Jack Miller, both of them analyzing data from the long-range sensors. They didn't believe our warning, she said quietly. Or their leadership didn't, Jack replied. Our prisoner Tark seemed convinced. Harris turned to his communications officer. Is the broadcast ready? Yes, sir. All systems standing by. Harris nodded grimly. Then it's time to show them we weren't bluffing. He pressed a button on the command console. This is General Harris. Activate Horizon. Authorization code Alpha 7 Delta Omega. Around the world, hidden facilities powered up. Simultaneously, deep beneath the oceans, in remote mountain ranges and concealed in what appeared to be ordinary satellites, the Horizon system came fully online for the first time. The Varn attack fleet moved into position, weapons charged and targeting Earth's orbital defense platforms. From the command ship, Dex gave the order to fire. Streams of energy lanced out toward Earth's defenses. But something unexpected happened. The beams curved away before reaching their targets, deflected by an invisible shield that suddenly enveloped the entire planet. What's happening? Dex demanded. Officer Mick stared at his instruments in disbelief. They've activated some kind of planetary shield. It's unlike anything in our records. Before Dex could respond, all screens on the command deck suddenly displayed the same image. General Harris, standing calmly in Earth's command center. Commander Dex, Harris addressed him directly, shocking the Varn officers. We know your name, your rank, and the composition of your fleet. We know you've been ordered to attack despite our warning. We regret that your leadership has made this choice. The image changed to show a massive, previously hidden installation on Earth's moon. A structure that hummed with power as it directed energy toward the Varn fleet. This is Horizon, Harris's voice continued. The system we developed after studying technology from the last 3 species who attempted to invade Earth. Dex felt a chill run through him. 3 previous invasions? We didn't want to activate it, Harris said. But you've left us no choice. The lunar installation fired, not a destructive beam, but a wave of energy that washed over the Varn fleet. Instantly, every system on every ship froze. Weapons, engines, life support. All remained functional but completely unresponsive to commands. On the command deck, Dex watched in horror as his control interfaces went dark, then reactivated with unfamiliar symbols. The humans had somehow taken control of their entire system. We could destroy your fleet, Harris explained. But that's not our way. Instead, we're giving you a choice. Your ships are now under our control. We will allow you to leave our solar system with your lives and a message for your leaders. The image changed to show Tark, the captured Varn scout, standing beside Lisa Brown. Your scout has learned much about humanity during his brief stay, Harris continued. He will be returned to you to share what he has learned. Perhaps it will help the Varn Collective make better choices in the future. Tark sat across from Lisa in the transport shuttle heading toward the Varn command ship. After weeks in captivity, he had developed a reluctant respect for humans. Your species is strange, he said finally. You have the power to destroy us, yet you choose restraint. Lisa smiled slightly. Destruction is easy. Coexistence is harder, but ultimately more beneficial. We learned that lesson through centuries of fighting each other. The collective won't stop, Tark warned. They'll return with a larger force. Perhaps, Lisa acknowledged, but they'll return knowing what awaits them. And perhaps your testimony will convince them to find another path. Tark looked out at the stars. In all our conquests, we've never encountered a species like yours. You're dangerous not because you're violent, but because you've learned from your violence. That's humanity's great strength, Lisa replied. We learn, we adapt, we grow. 2 days later, Commander Dex stood before the Varn High Council, Tark at his side. The council chamber was silent as they finished their report on Earth. You mean to tell us, the head counselor said incredulously, that these humans not only repelled our attack but temporarily took control of our ships, then simply let you go? Yes, counselor, Dex confirmed. They returned our scout and restored control of our vessels on the condition that we leave their system and deliver their message. Which is? Earth is not for conquest, Tark spoke up. They wish to be left in peace, but they are prepared for war if necessary. They suggest diplomatic contact instead, should the collective wish to establish relations. The counselors murmured among themselves. Finally, the head counselor spoke. In all our history, the collective has never retreated from a target world. He paused, then added, but neither have we encountered a species capable of such resistance and such restraint. The decision was made unanimously. Earth would be added to the Varn Collective's registry, not as a conquest, but as a sovereign world to be approached with caution and respect. On Earth, life gradually returned to normal, though nothing would ever be quite the same. Humanity had faced its first public contact with alien life and emerged not just intact, but stronger. In the Nevada facility, now being transformed into an interstellar diplomatic center, Jack stood beside Lisa, watching the stars through the reinforced glass ceiling. Do you think they'll come back? He asked. Lisa nodded. They'll be back, but next time I think they'll knock on the front door instead of trying to break in through the window. Jack smiled. We should probably put up a welcome sign then, or at least a doorbell. Lisa agreed, looking up at the vast expanse of space, with new eyes. Humanity had earned its place among the stars, not through conquest but through the wisdom earned from centuries of conflict and the strength to choose peace when possible. Earth's warning had been heard across the stars, and the message was clear. This small blue planet was home to a species that was not to be underestimated.